Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the rumour and speculation around what's coming next for Kill Team. So, all this stuff comes from Chapter Master Val. If you're somehow unaware of Chapter Master Val, I've stuck a link to his channel down in the description. Do go and look at his stuff. He's mainly a 40k kind of Space Marine obsessed guy, but he's also the only credible source of Kill Team rumours basically ever, right? Now, the somewhat vague rumour from the Chapter Master for the next box is Grey Knights versus something to do with Khorne. Now, that's excitingly light on detail. It gives us a lot to talk around, speculate around, and wish list. But I do think it seems very likely. Like, he's repeated this rumour recently. He seems pretty certain. Valrak doesn't have a 100% hit rate, but you can kind of judge from how often he says something, whether he versus kind of letting stuff die on the vine, whether he kind of gains more confidence in things the closer in that we get. It's also worth saying that Kill Team releases don't always tie in with 40k releases. But these would marry in really well with what we've heard from the 40k roadmap. We know that World Eaters are due, and we also pretty well know that Grey Knights are due quite quickly after that. So, yeah, I think there's enough credence here to say that the next box for Kill Team will be Grey Knights versus something Khornate. Let's dig into that a little bit. So, thinking about Grey Knights. Now, the interesting one is... the rumour is that Grey Knights aren't getting a comprehensive redo for 40k. We're kind of looking at the whatever the Kill Team box is, plus like a vehicle upgrade sprue, like a pretty minimal redo and a codex. So the obvious thing for me is Power Armoured Grey Knights, because this was the compendium team in the previous edition of Kill Team. The current Power Armoured Grey Knights kit does need redoing in the new Primaris scale. I say Primaris scale because I don't necessarily mean to suggest that they will be Primaris lore-wise, but in the same way that the Chaos Space Marines have been made just sort of bigger, I can imagine them just wanting to make Grey Knights just that bit bigger. Now, if they stick to the same kind of format as the current box, you know, it's a very feature-rich box, right? You've got the Incinerator, Psycannon, Silencer, Nemesis Demon Hammer, Nemesis Falcons, Nemesis Warding Stave. There's already a lot of options in there. Now, we don't know for sure that GW will keep the same box layout, but I could definitely see... you know, it does seem likely that we'll ultimately, whatever the Kill Team is, it will be a 40k unit with extra parts, because that's the paradigm that GW seems to be pursuing with this edition. If you look at the Wrecker Crew and the Ratlings, they're very much kits that were needed for their respective armies, right? They needed a redo to replace some Finecast stuff, with some extra bits thrown in on the frame to make them viable Kill Teams. And it's kind of the same story with Hivestorm. Yeah, okay, the Tempestus, Aquilons rather, were genuinely a new unit, but the Vespid, again, it's very much a 40k. We are in a 40k first design philosophy for Kill Team at the moment. We haven't always been there. If you look at the last edition of Kill Team, when we were getting more stuff like, you know, the Adeptus Arbites, okay, and things like that, we weren't always in this 40k first line philosophy, but I think now we're in this place where, yes, we're adding all new kits, but we have to be realistic and think that any kit that we get is going to be a unit that's needed or wanted in some way for 40k, most likely, possibly with some extra parts on the sprue. So, I could see them doing Power Armoured Grey Knights. There's a lot of options here, and it will be a fairly standard 6-man Marine team. You'd probably also have 1 or 2 operatives with the extra teleporters, right? The backpacks with the little rods on them. I could see that. Obviously, we don't know that they're going to keep it as a triple build box, and they could introduce a new unit type instead. Drop one of these unit types, introduce something totally new, so that you'd have that option of building a different unit which would form the basis or part of a Kill Team as well. So all things are in the air, but I do think the most likely outcome for a Grey Knights Kill Team is ultimately that they're redoing this kit that makes these 3 squads. It makes sense, doesn't it? If they're not doing a massive range review for Grey Knights, Like, this one kit is quite a lot of the Grey Knight range, you know, especially as if you've got this kit in the range, you can then kind of tell people, well, and you can kit bash this with various other Primaris bits to make Grey Knights versions of those things as well. So I can kind of see it. But the other opportunity is, of course, that they do Terminator armoured Grey Knights. I don't think Terminators in Kill Team is a terribly good idea, but if they were going to do Terminators for Kill Team, it makes sense for them to do Terminator armoured Grey Knights. You know, they are the most sort of special ops, operating on their own behind enemy lines kind of Terminator squad. Like, they do actually fit the lore of Kill Team to a great extent, in that they turn up suddenly unsupported by the rest of the army, you know, on their own as an independent unit. And it would be a great kind of thing to change up the paradigm of Kill Team a little bit and have them as a 5-man squad rather than a 6-man squad, and make them like that a bit more powerful than the regular Marines, and see how that pans out. But one less miniature. So it's possible. And plus the Terminator, like, I would prefer Terminators in the long run, because for my money, I mean, I am old, but I remember when the entire Grey Knights range was Grey Knight Terminator squad, and it was a thing you could buy to ally into your Imperial faction. You know, the Terminator, more than the power armoured Grey Knight, in my mind, is the archetypical Grey Knight core unit. I guess if you're a bit younger, maybe you think of power armoured Grey Knights as being the kind of default Grey Knight, but in my head, the Terminator is the default Grey Knight. Now, do I think this is particularly likely to happen? Possibly not, because, of course, we have the power armoured ones in the compendium, not the Terminator ones, and that does draw me back to the idea that they're probably going to stick with their guns and do the power armoured version. But I don't know. And then that brings on to the other half of the rumour, something Khorne. So Khorne is an interesting proposition as well. Unlike Grey Knights, there's not an obvious thing of, oh, that needs a new kit, because, of course, the Word Bearers stuff is brand new, basically. Now, they are mixing in the demons now with the God-specific Space Marine chapters, so could we see this as an excuse to bring in a new Bloodletters kit? I don't think straightforwardly they would just do new Bloodletters in Kill Team, because, you know, I don't want a Bloodletter with a radio, you know. The demons are supposed to be... I know they have banners and musicians, sure, for Age of Sigmar, but that's the other thing. They need to keep the Bloodletters kit in circulation and un-science fictioned up, because they want the Age of Sigmar players to buy it as well. But what would be interesting, given that they're mixing the demons in, something sort of pseudo-demonic, right? It would be great to have a mixture of mortals led by Chaos Space Marine with maybe a Bloodletter or two hanging out, like a real narrative Kill Team. Unfortunately, like I said, we appear to be in this 40k first design philosophy at the moment, where the things that are coming out for the current edition of Kill Team are first and foremost a 40k unit. So my best guess is a sort of Khorne possessed mortals unit, a sort of, if you think about the Galapox that we had in Kill Team at the moment, a sort of Khorne themed version of them. So you've got humans, right, similar to the Jackals, but like, I mean, in the same way that in the regular Chaos Space Marine list you've got the cultists, and then you've got the kind of possessed cultists. Basically, it would be possessed Jackals, I think, is my guess. So it'll be a blend of the Jackals and the Bloodletters to get you like a more elite human-y unit. I think that would make sense for both 40k and Kill Team. Let me know in the comments whether that's something that you would be interested in, whether something you'd like to see. But that is sort of my best guess just at the moment. And then we move on to other things Valrak's been saying. We got Kill Team Space Hulk, okay? So Valrak once again brought up his Kill Team Space Hulk idea. This has been a bit of an albatross around Valrak's neck for a while, because he started speaking about this a long time ago, and it didn't pan out. And a lot of us were like, well, this is silly, Valrak, because they've just done... At that time he first started speaking about this, they'd just finished Into the Dark, and Space Hulk Kill Team seemed like it was some kind of confusion with Into the Dark, but he's come back and said, no, I believe this is happening. And the one thing that does add some credence to this is the 2025 store anniversary model for 40k is Space Hulk themed, right? It is the Genestealer versus the Blood Angels Terminator on a sort of urban-y looking base. And so I can buy that miniature is supposed to be a reference to Space Hulk. And I can see Games Workshop doing a Space Hulk new edition. It's kind of free money for Games Workshop, honestly. Like, people will buy that based on nostalgia. It will sell through. They'll make their money back. But I'm not sure it would be a thing for Kill Team, unless the track they go down with it is it's a new edition of Space Hulk, and then maybe because they lack confidence in how many they'll sell, they go, and by the way, the models inside also have official rules for Kill Team, a sort of Strike Force Justian situation where the main purpose of the product is not to be a Kill Team product, but they've kind of tasked the Kill Team studio to put some rules in the box as well to broaden the appeal of that product, and that would then get you Terminators, with a wide variety of weapons. I think traditionally in Space Hulk you get like both assault Terminators and the sort of shooty Terminators, as well as an array of Genestealers. I don't know whether the Genestealer team will be fun, because traditionally in Space Hulk it's mainly just some Genestealers, but they could put other stuff in there as well. Usually you get a Broodlord / Patriarch, like whatever you want to call it. I could see that as well, but it would be very much a rehash of the 10 Genestealer Kill Team. But if you assume it's going to be like that, and it's going to be like a release that happens to also have like an extra release that comes out, and it happens to have space, like, the rules don't have to be good at that point. It's less likely that they have to make sense. It's much more that they've been told, okay, management has said we've got to make 10 Genestealers working Kill Teams, so this is the best we can do, I guess. I think if this happens, that's what it'll be. But I actually think it's more likely that we're just going to get Space Hulk as a re-release at some point. But yeah, Valrak has been saying Kill Team Space Hulk is coming back. So now, whether they recycle the Into the Dark terrain for Space Hulk, that seems very likely. Which I can imagine, if you're a diehard Kill Team player and you collect everything for Kill Team, and it's like, now I have to go and buy Space Hulk to get my Kill Team stuff, and Games Workshop get to sell me like a 5th set of the Into the Dark terrain, I can imagine that being quite upsetting for some people as well. So this might happen in this way, but I'm not hyped for it. All right. Exodites, the maddest thing Valrak has said for my money is Exodites. This is also a really old rumour that he's mentioned again. It seems to come round again. I struggle with it. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? It could happen. But I struggle with Exodites simply because, well, there's two things. First of all, a sort of morally grey Eldar, a lot of their narrative niche is kind of covered by the Corsairs, which we already have in Kill Team. That sort of middle ground between the Craftworlders and the Drukhari. But I can see that they are trying to expand Eldar out into, because you got to remember, in Age of Sigmar they got their 4 big powers. They got the Order, the Chaos, the Death, and the Destruction, and they really do want to try and branch Eldar out in 40k so they can talk cohesively about Eldar, Imperium, Chaos, and then the other Xenos off in a corner. And so we do kind of, if they want to realise that dream, we need more bits, more Eldar bits, right, to rival the other two. So I can see them doing Eldar Exodites, I guess, but they do seem narratively to be in a pretty similar place to Corsairs. And the main thing that you think of, someone says Exodites, I think of like this picture, and I think of Eldar riding dinosaurs, and we're not going to have cavalry and Kill Team. Yeah, there's things they could do. They could have a little pet micro-raptor thing running around. They could have a pterodactyl-like thing flying around. And Games Workshop doubtless will give them those kind of little dinosaur pets. I can see that. But it's not Eldar riding dinosaurs, is it? Talk a bit more about Exodites in a second, because I do think there's a scenario where I can see them, but we'll get there. And the last thing Val said was guard regiments, which he didn't say anything beyond that other than they want to do guard regiments. Now, there are a lot of... First of all, in the abstract, this makes sense, right? Because we've just had the Death Corps of Krieg full release for 40k, and like 3 years ago, we got the Death Corps of Krieg as a kill team, as the forerunner to them doing the entire army. So I can see it. It does make sense, but it really feels like at the moment Games Workshop wants to focus on just having 3 regiments: the Krieg, the Cadians, and the Catachans. So I can see them doing a Catachan kill team. I think that's been likely and been on the cards for a long time. The Catachan plastic kit has a data sheet in the updated codex. It is old as all heck, right? It looks hideous. So I can see them doing plastic Catachans, and then the next time, in 3 years, they get around to doing the Imperial Guard again. They bring out the rest of the Catachan stuff the way they just did for the Krieg. It will be a real mirror, because the Krieg kill team came out, and then it was when at a time when the Codex was very much focused on Arcadia, and then now it's come around to Krieg. I think they could bring out a Catachan kill team relatively soon, and then the next Guard Codex in 40k when we get around there would be Catachan flavoured. I think that's the most likely outcome of this rumour. But Valrak was like talking about Mordians and all these other things. Like I think Games Workshop really wants to memory hole the Mordians, the Praetorians, the Talans, the Vostroyans, the Elysian Drop Troopers, and the Valhallans, especially those ones from 2nd edition, the Praetorians, the Mordians, the Talans, and the Valhallans, because they're too close to... They're all based on war movies. They're all based on different kind of war movies, and things like that, which are too close to the real world, and they're not Warhammer enough. The Vostroyans were an experiment in making a really Warhammer Guard regiment, right? They were this metal regiment that came out in really the dying days of metal miniatures. Not many people know about the Vostroyan or remember them properly. Like, they could decide to bring back the Vostroyans. My feeling is not many people bought Vostroyans, and therefore Games Workshop's decided that they aren't popular. Like, Vostroyans have that antiquated feudal, like, Las-Lock vibe, and they feel more sort of 40k. And they feel like a cool niche in 40k that's not been explored by any of the other regiments that they're doing. But I wonder if GW did a self-fulfilling prophecy by releasing a Metal Guard regiment at a time when nobody was really going to start collecting a Metal 40k army, much less a Guard regiment, which requires a lot of miniatures. But I wonder if they've filed in their head, oh yeah, Vostroyans were unpopular. The Elysian Drop Troops are another thing that could come back, but I don't think it's likely. I think the only one, apart from the Catachan, that I kind of see is if they were going to do the Tanith. So they did the Gaunt's Ghosts box quite recently. Oh, it was actually quite a long time ago now, I guess. Time, when you're in your late 30s, time just becomes this blurry mess. But comparatively recently, they're modern new sculpts, right? I guess I could see them doing a generic Tanith first and only squad, and I could see them adding that to the Guard Rangers of PDF, because it wouldn't be a generic infantry squad. It would be like, well, these all have the Cameline cloaks, and they can take a sniper rifle, and maybe they have infiltrate, and they would genuinely be a new unit. Like, take one of these, add it to your Guard army, and they fill a niche. And then probably like, oh, if you really want to, you can do an entire army of these led by the Gaunt's Ghost box I want, but it won't be good or competitive. So I kind of see that, but I think if this goes anywhere, it'll be Catachan would be my best guess. So I just want to remind people of what we're expecting, right? So we've had Edition 2, we're in, right, starting with Hivestorm. Hivestorm was Edition 2, Season 1, Box 1. Brutal and Cunning was Edition 2, Season 1, Box 2. And we're expecting Edition 2, Season 1, Box 3 around March. Now, it is weird with that time frame that we got no LVO preview, okay? It could be that it's going to be previewed at Adepticon, which is in the back end of March, and then one of those things where they preview it, and then it basically goes to Sunday preview the day after the Adepticon preview. That's happened before, that's possible, and I do think that E2 S1 B3 will likely be Khorne versus Grey Knights, right? And then around June, we're expecting to get E2 S1 B4. And I guess you'd expect me to say, well, that's going to be a Guard Regiment versus Exodites. I don't think it is. I think it's going to be something totally different. I don't think that the Kill Team Space Hulk is going to be in here, right? I think if that comes, it's going to be a separate release that comes outside of our expected schedule, a sort of Ashes of Faith or Kill Team Justian type release that just kind of comes out, right? And then what I do think is, around September time, we're expecting Season 2 to come out. And we know, or we should have been paying attention, that Season 2 will come with a new kill zone, right? And a new approved ops. Those are annual, the approved ops is an annual product, right? And we get a new kill zone. Now, Kata-chan versus Exodites, thematically that works. I don't want to say it, but if what you believe is they're going to do Exodites, they're going to do Kata-chans together, it makes sense for the new kill zone, right, in Season 2 to be jungle. Yeah, I said the line. Everybody can go away in the comments. But, like, what if it is? What if it's Kata-chan versus Exodites and jungle terrain? Man, that just kind of works in concept, you know, as a season launch box. And I realised it would be expecting that around September, October time, you know, a year on from Hivestorm, and that skips the quarter 4, or not quarter 4, but the June, like, box 4 of season 1. But yeah, like, I don't think the Exodites rumour seems that likely to me, but when you pair it up like that, and you go, we're expecting a new kill zone in September, we're expecting a Kata-chan kill team at some point, it sort of makes sense. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of all I've got to say. I'd love to know in the comments, what do you think is likely, right? And what do you think is unlikely from what we've been through? And very separately, what would you like, right? It's always fun to talk about that, but do make it distinct in the comments whether you're predicting or wishlisting, because they're both enjoyable, but they're separate activities. Do subscribe, comment, like, etc., and consider joining the Discord. If you're somehow unfamiliar with Chapter Master Val, do have a look at his channel. And I want to say a big thank you to all my members, especially Nightfall and Sam Troth, who are both subscribed at the highest tier, and therefore do give me a genuine, like, decent amount of money every single month. If you are potentially interested in becoming a channel member, just click the join button down below. It won't, like, join you up straight away. You get a whole thing with all the perks and the things that you get, and a little extra video explaining what you can get and stuff like that. So that's all nice as well. And that's been my rumour. A long time since we've done a sort of rumour scrub down video like this. Tomorrow will be live stream day. Tuesday is live stream day. Wednesday, no video, because I usually play Kill Team with Zimbad on Wednesday, assuming he's well. So, live stream tomorrow, and then my next video will be on Thursday. Look forward to seeing you then. Have a good one. Cheery, 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 cheery. Bye, 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 bye.